All right, guys. So Clarkson gets ejected. He gets into it with Bane, going back and forth. Again, he raised the fist as if he was going to fight him. Walker Kessler has 6 blocks. Uh, they were in the first quarter, but I think they took one away from him. He ended the game with 6 blocks. And we're going to get into some really interesting lineups with the Jazz. 3-man lineups, 2-man lineup. Oh no, 3-man, 4-man, and 5-man lineups to see which ones are the best. And I've got something very, very interesting as far as plus minus and who are the Jazz's best lineups. So let's go ahead and get into it, baby. So the Jazz drop another one, 118, 123 in Memphis to the Memphis Grizzlies. Uh, Man, tough one. It really ended up, I felt like, being a closer game than it actually was. As you look down at the box score, Lauri felt like he struggled. Didn't come in till the last bit of crunch time to try and win the game. Finishes the game with 21 points. Olynyk has 19. Jordan Clarkson, before he's ejected, has 17. And then Malik Beasley has 15. But the real story, to me, what stood out was just turnovers. If you look down at these turnovers, you have 20 turnovers. But I would love to see, let's go over to this page on how many points they scored off our turnovers, because I know that was a huge difference in the game. You can see here, Memphis led almost the entire game. We led for a little bit in the beginning of the second quarter. I tweeted out, Olynyk and Vanderbilt are in. We've got a 1-point lead. This is right when I said that. And then once they came out, I believe it was a 14-point lead. No, sorry, 10-point lead. So it was like an 11-point swing just with those guys coming in and out. And second chance, here we go. Fast break points, 25. Second chance points, 24. Points in the paint, we actually beat them. So as far as Memphis goes, you can see here, Desmond Bane led them in points with 24 points. I felt like when him and Clarkson kind of got into it, that's when he started going off and catching fire. Walker Kessler leads the Jazz with 11 rebounds. Jaren Jackson Jr. leads the Memphis Grizzlies with 9. Mike Conley leads the Jazz with 8 assists. Desmond Bane, he seems like a Jazz killer a little bit to me, leads the Memphis Grizzlies with 9 assists. And then Walker Kessler leads the Jazz, like I said before, 6 blocks. I didn't realize Jaren Jackson had 5 blocks. Before the game started, I said Jaren Jackson is going to eat us alive. And honestly, he, with no Ja Morant, he kind of did. The big thing is Clarkson gets ejected, and he kind of lost his cool. You got to wonder what's going on right now within the Jazz organization. It kind of seems like a lot of people are off. Whether a trade's coming up or contract negotiations with Jordan Clarkson. Go check out my other video. It's blowing up on YouTube right now with Jordan Clarkson, the contract negotiations. But Ochai also finishes in the fourth quarter, which was interesting because he hasn't really finished before. And then I'm looking at season leaders, and it looks like the Jazz are third in the NBA for points per game, 117, and our offensive efficiency is, Where did you go? Our pace isn't very good. Well, I did have it. Points per game for our bench is 40. We're fourth in the league behind San Antonio, LA, and Indiana. But as the game was going on today, I thought, man, Vanderbilt and Olynyk just, especially Olynyk, was struggling early on. If Olynyk's shot is not falling, sorry, my heater's on, so I got to turn this down. If Olynyk's shot's not falling, I almost feel like he's useless a little bit. To me, my argument is Vanderbilt and Olynyk, especially if Olynyk's shot's not falling, do not need to really be guarded. They're not offensive threats. So when you have Lauri Markkanen in there with Clarkson and Conley, it makes it so hard for them to score because they're getting helped off on so easily. I know that when Olynyk is hitting his shot and making 3-pointers like he was earlier in the season, Sydney tweeted out, she follows us in the group chat, he's shooting 10% from 3-point line. It might have changed from tonight. He caught fire for a second there. 10% in the month of December or January, and he went out at the end of the game with it looked like a rolled ankle that he could barely walk on. So you wonder if that's affecting his shot and affecting his play. But I've got some very, very interesting stats as far as what lineups are the worst and the best. And honestly, a stat that when I was looking through these made me think, are we really tanking? I mean, I'm not a pro tanker. I know, Kevin, you are, but this one had me thinking legitimately, are we tanking? And I think that it shows a little bit of proof that we may be. And I think the Jazz are doing a really good job of tricking us or making us convinced that they're trying to compete. So Will Hardy's on. I'm going to pass this to him, and then we'll get into this. So hang on just a sec.
He had 17 second chance points in the first half and only 7. He had 17 in the first half and only 7 in the second half. And, I thought our team matched the physicality. But ultimately, that second quarter is where the game was decided. I mean, we won the first quarter, we won the third quarter, and we won the fourth quarter. But, that's the way these NBA games can go sometimes when teams have a big burst, and we've been on the wrong end of a couple of those lately. And, they found some threes off offensive rebounds. They found a couple in transition, and that's a very good team we just played. So credit to them. They played well. But I really liked our collective resolve on the second night of a back-to-back. I wish offensively we could have taken care of the ball a little bit better, for sure. But, our team continues to dig in and fight and, give a great effort every single night. I think, again, it's easy to get wrapped up in the result, but we've had a tough stretch lately, and I do really feel, and our coaching staff feels, that we've played more good basketball than bad basketball in that stretch, and that's what we have to maintain, is the perspective with our team of what's going on, and continue to have the right approach every day, because with 39 games to go, a lot can change, and those results can start to go in your favor if your approach is good, and you play the right way on both ends.
How much does things change for you when you lose Jordan in the fourth quarter and then you lose Kelly in the final minutes, like your closing game plan?
Yeah, there's a lot that changes. It's the second night of a back-to-back, and so we're trying to take care of our guys and obviously get out of here as healthy as we can. And the incident with Jordan that's a part of the games sometimes, and so we lost him, and that we had to make an adjustment. And then obviously Kelly was an unfortunate play, but again, we'll always lean on the fact that we're a team and we've got a lot of good players on our team, and everybody's ready to step up. There's always going to be moments where the team is a little bit undermanned, and sometimes you go into the game like that, and sometimes it happens in the middle of the game, but it's on all of us, the coaches and the players, to just adjust and try to put our best foot forward.
I think it was 21 turnovers tonight, did those feel like they were coming at sort of bad moments, that they were untimely?
Yeah, absolutely. The first half we had 12, and I thought in the first half we didn't do a good job of getting off the ball early. I think a lot of our decisions were made a dribble or two late, and against a very good defense like that, a very long and athletic and physical defense, they make you pay if you don't make your decisions early in the clock. And that's something we talked a lot about pregame. And until you're in the moment, it's hard to simulate what their defense is going to look and feel like. So I thought our team had the right intent, but sometimes it was a little bit late. There may be, I've talked all year about dribbling turnovers bother me more than passing turnovers, and I think there were some moments where we probably over dribbled a little bit in some of those untimely turnovers, like you said. But like that Kelly one at the end really hurt. I think he made a good move, and then he twists his ankle and goes down, and so he loses the ball. And as a coach, I'm not really sure what to say to him about that. It's an unfortunate play. So we've been the beneficiaries of some good timing at certain times this year, and so you have to be willing to accept the moments when the timing doesn't go your way. And again, we have a long view with our team right now in terms of there's 39 games to go, and losing hurts in the moment, but we have to maintain our approach and try to control what we can control.
We've talked a lot this season about Walker's timing and how good it is for being a rookie. I mean, in the first half, I think he had 5 or 6 blocks.
And he had 5 in the first half, yeah.
The first quarter.
What more can you say about what he's actually learned and how good his hands are at this point?
Yeah, he's very, very special in that regard. I've been around a lot of young players in the NBA, and I've been around some very, very high-level bigs in the NBA. I've been spoiled, and his timing and his ability to block shots with both hands, I think, is what makes him so special. Some guys are very dominant-handed. I know that's not technically how you're supposed to say that, but you get what I'm trying to say. And Walker, I feel like he blocks just as many shots with his left hand as his right hand, and it gives him such an advantage. He also does such a good job of, when he goes vertical, he follows the ball with his eyes, and so late he can make a play with his hands. Some guys just sort of jump vertical and just maintain that vertical position the entire way through the play. And we're lucky to have Walker in our program, and I think he's developing great. He's learning a lot every single day. I'm watching a lot of film and trying to get better and better, but I think this is the best thing for him in his rookie year is learning on the fly. And he got almost 24 minutes tonight against a really good team, and I think he'll be able to go back and look at the film and see the things he did well and the things he can do better on both ends of the court, because he's now played more games in a season than he's ever has in his whole life. And so it's about how does he maintain the approach and the mental energy level just as much as the physical energy level. I think when people talk about the rookie wall, it's not just your legs, it's your head. It's hard to continue to ramp up for the games and prep and dig into all the film stuff, but he's done such a good job of taking care of his body and having that great approach every day. and he's got 39 more games.
You talk about dribbling turnovers sort of upsetting you more than maybe a passing turnover, and we've talked about transition defense, but transition offense, it seems like sometimes you guys will have turnovers just before you get to the rim.
Mm-hmm.
Are those ones equally as upsetting?
Yeah, I think when you have a numbers advantage, you'd like to see your team generate a good shot. There's a difference between bad intent and a bad decision, and I haven't felt at all this season like our team is playing selfish or guys are trying to get their own. I think sometimes our decision making just hasn't been great, or it's been a little bit late. And when you have an advantage, a numbers advantage in transition, a lot of times you have to make that first pass early. And I think, especially tonight, I feel like there were a couple of plays where we just made the pass a little bit late, and then you get caught really close to the basket with a lot of big athletes around you, and those moments are hard. So, it's the competitor in me. You get a little bit upset when we have those plays, but when I go back and look at it, I'm really just trying to make sure that our team's intent is correct. You can coach decision making. You can try to help guys understand why they need to make certain decisions, but we say before every game, play hard and pass. And I think that our team has maintained that approach through this season so far.
More post-game is on the way. Malik Beasley, we know about him from three-point range, but
So, interesting thing as coach was speaking, he said, this is a second game on a back-to-back, or the end of a back-to-back, basically, and we played yesterday, and then this is kind of, I guess, not a terribly early game, but, still earlier than usual. And this will have been our 11th game out of 13. 11 out of 13 back-to-backs that we have played. And we're just barely crossing the halfway point. So you got to look at the second half of the season as we only have 2 more back-to-backs, which can only be in your favor. We also are tied, I believe, for third most games played already up to this point. So we've just had like a really grueling schedule. Obviously, that's not an excuse or anything, but I'm just pointing it out. Like, in recent Jazz history, I can't remember as crazy of a schedule as we've had this year. So I'm going to pass the mic over to whoever wants to speak. I know Kevin's requested. We've got 2 other listeners, Dallin and Cool Danny. If you guys want to speak, just request, and bless us with your knowledge, Kevin.
Couple points. First, to the schedule, I was thinking today, man, we've got it good. We got this second half of the season. It's going to be a little bit more laid back for us because our schedule's better. But then as I was kind of looking at Memphis and some of these teams we're playing, I was like, is this maybe a disadvantage? Because as teams get to this trade deadline and they finalize their rosters, our team's going to be tuned up. And tuning up their teams in these games are going to be a little bit tougher now because teams aren't going to be finding themselves and setting their offenses and whatnot. So maybe we did get a little bit more screwed because we had this super difficult schedule when everybody's trying to find themselves and not really be able to take advantage of that like some of these other teams. Just kind of thinking out loud a little bit. And then the other thought with JC, I think the thing – I love the emotion from him, and I love that he's fighting, and I love that he's not taking any crap from anybody. But I think the thing that was frustrating for me is that as someone who's supposed to be a leader on our team and as somebody who wants to be paid like a leader on our team, he has to realize that in that moment, he can't do that. He needs to be there on the team. He needs to be on the floor, and he needs to be helping us try to win that game. And that's a moment where he needs to kind of keep himself a little bit cool and calm and take care of business because, whether you're a JC fan or not, with this roster, it is hard to win without him.
Yeah, it was interesting watching how he acted because I think a little bit of emotion finally overflowed from who knows what, his contract negotiations, maybe not going how the way he wanted, or his frustrating play. But yeah, it was weird. I believe this was the same exact team where he raised his hands up in the air, trying to square up last time, wasn't it?
I'm not sure, but I just tweeted out, and I was asking for any clarification. I think this is the second time he's been ejected for getting or taking a swipe at somebody. I think it's only been twice this season. It might be 3 times, but I think it's only been twice this season that he's been ejected for doing something like this. I think the other time we were winning, so it was a little bit different kind of situation. But,
Yeah.
Which I don't mind the emotion. I love the fight. I really do. I think you need players on your team that show that fight. But if you're trying to be a leader and you're trying to get that contract to be paid as a leader and be that guy, you have to know when to do it and when not to do it.
Well, and it started heating up between him and Bane. I think Bane hit a few 3-point shots, and so they were jawing back and forth a little bit. And what I would have liked to see is him. I didn't really see the swipe when it happened live, and then when they showed the replay, it was obvious. Like, I knew immediately he was going to be ejected. But you like to see players duel it out on the court. Like, Clarkson was starting to heat up as well, and I think that's when he plays the best, is when there's a little bit of competition from another player. So I would have loved for the entertainment value to have been there as a fan to just see him and Bane try and go back and forth. And maybe sometimes you lose those. Bane had a great game and shot 8 for 18, but Clarkson shot better field goal percentage, 6 for 12. And so I would have liked to see it play out a little bit more. It was interesting that Ochai finished the game. I think he deserved it. The last couple games he had amazing games, but in the group chat I was complaining about Olynyk and Vanderbilt. And last game we didn't do a podcast, but I rewatched it, and it's just like when those guys are on the court, it just seems like we fall apart and disintegrate. And I've got an unpopular opinion that I shared in the group chat. But what is your guys' feel as far as Olynyk and Vanderbilt? And let's go to Armani. He's requesting right now. Give us your thoughts first, and then respond to that question. And Down, we better hear from you. I know that you like to just sit in the background, buddy. You gotta unmute yourself, Armani.
Oh, you asked me first.
Yeah.
Regarding the Vando and Olynyk situation, I've always noticed that all the way back. I don't know, maybe back in late November-ish, that those two were an issue, especially just Vando and him being sporadic in the sense where one game he may play very well, play over his head, and then another game he's just cold, as in just the way that he plays, some of the boneheaded plays that he likes to make. I don't know. Sometimes he over pushes the ball, and he messes up the offense in that way. And then with Olynyk, it's just like, it's just a matter of, will he hit a shot?
Yeah.
Some games he do, sometimes he doesn't. But early in the season, he was great. December, it was shaky, but I can give him the benefit of the doubt because he had got injured and he had missed a couple games. So it was like, you have to get your game back. But for the most part with those two, I really don't like that combo at all. I haven't liked that combo, especially when you have Walker playing the way that Walker has been playing. Walker needs to be playing at bare minimum 26 minutes a game.
Yeah, I think he had 27 tonight, but it's interesting to me that Kessler hardly ever finishes the game.
Right, and he's so impactful, and he's able to hit free throws. Is he the most consistent free throw shooter? Not exactly, but we haven't put him in too many positions for him to have to be. So we won't really necessarily know. He's such a a force defensively where the other teams just really can't attack the rim as hard as they, would really like to. And even on offense, he sucks in the defense on his rim cuts because of the fact that, like, I don't know what it is that he pulls a lot of gravity on his rim cuts. So it's just like we need him in the game, especially in those type of situations, because maybe we can get off a three off of him being a roll man, but we don't get to see that enough because he doesn't play in the late game situations. The other thing I'm really concerned with is how our guards don't give him the ball when he is open. We have a lot of lob opportunities that we don't get to actually display, and then even on the fast break, he might be out on the fast break and he might have a clear cut. Maybe if he catch the ball, he need one dribble and dunk. He doesn't get those balls because our guard will sit there and try to look for a three and then get caught up, have to do a kick out. I mean, have to do a swing, and then it wastes that opportunity.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I pulled up some analytics to take a look at just with our team and our different lineups. You can do 2-man lineups, 3-man lineups, 4-man, 5-man. So I pulled up 3-man lineups because I was, wondering where these guys fall. And I like to do these. If you're on YouTube, you can kind of see it's going off plus minus, which isn't my favorite stat, but it helps us get an idea of these stats. So I pulled a 3-man lineup and teams that have played 15 minutes or more, so averaging 15 minutes or more per game in the season. And the worst lineup at -3 on the plus minus is Kelly Olynyk, Jared Vanderbilt, and who else would you guess would be in that lineup? Mike Conley, which is crazy to me. That was the craziest one because I was thinking it would be one of these bench guys, right? But to me, Mike Conley makes other players better. And so when you've got two other guys and I believe it's because they're not very good at running the pick and roll. I think Olynyk can run like the pick and pop or pop to the 3-point line. I don't think Vanderbilt really is ever able to set a screen that.
If you notice, anytime a pick and roll or pick and pop is ran, it looks junky when it's those two on the court.
Yeah, and I don't think Vanderbilt understands it at all, to be honest. But he really just doesn't even understand how to set a screen where you could run a proper pick and roll. So that was really interesting to me. The next worst one would be Conley, Clarkson, and Vanderbilt at -1.7, which I think
I've noticed that maybe back in back in November. I noticed it back in middle of November. Mike Conley and Jared Vanderbilt does not work.
Yeah,
they don't work.
It's really interesting because usually Mike Conley can make other players better, and just to me that's another reason why Vanderbilt. I think what happens is he is working so hard and looks like he's working so hard most of the time that he makes a lot of fans think that he's got a lot of energy, and he does, but he's not making plays that affect the game. Like, he's in there scrapping for the ball and might touch it 3 times on a rebound, but he doesn't come away with it. He usually falls on the ground, in my opinion, trying to
He's a great hustle player, but and I will say that he's an NBA caliber starter. The issue is that his play style is not adept for our starting lineup. It just doesn't work.
It's not for. I was going to say this to kind of your point, Amari, when you're making with the Kessler issue, and I don't know if this is a Will Hardy thing, but this offense that the Jazz runs does not run a lot of motion to cutting guys going to the basket. They want to run off. They want to run guys to the corner for corner threes. They run a lot of motion stuff to get to the 3-point line. Like, I don't know how many times I see Vanderbilt cut to the rim or Kessler cut to the rim, or these guys cut to the rim, and no one even pays attention to them. And that's Vando's. Vando doesn't want to take a shot if it's not in the right corner or it's not at the rim. He doesn't want to take that shot.
Yeah.
He's not going to take that shot.
He's playing to his game. He's definitely playing to. I think we do have the players who cut, right? I think the off-ball screens is optional. So when I say that, I believe when we run an off-ball screen, we have the option to have the rope. The screener has the option to roll, to dive to the corner, or to fall back. The issue is that when a man does roll, sometimes there's another person cutting at the same time. And then the bigger issue is that the guards does not see, either they don't see the pass or they don't make the pass. But that's the issue.
Well, and the other thing is, to your point, we miss that pass so much.
Yeah, we do.
That defenses don't guard it. We saw it happen 2 or 3 times in the game where Vando or Olynyk or somebody is literally wide open under the basket and gets a ball from a guard. And the defense is like, what? You passed it to him for an easy dunk? Like, they don't even guard that cut, like, because we don't make that pass.
So I wanted to share these other lineups real quick, and then Dallin, I know you just requested. So our best plus minus with 3 men is, and Kevin, I think this speaks to you saying that, you know, when Olynyk is hitting his 3-point shot, it spaces the floor and our offense is clicking more. Olynyk, Clarkson, and Markkanen are a plus 2.7. The next closest is 1.4, plus 1.4, and that's Conley, Clarkson, and Markkanen. So you've got Clarkson in both of those, and it just seems like Vando tends to be in the negatives. So, yeah. So, Dallin, I'm going to let you go ahead, and then we're going to roll over to the 4-man and 5-man lineups, because the 5-man lineups, I was not expecting a few of these stats, and kind of surprised me tonight. But Dallin, go ahead.
Yeah, it's a good game for the tank, so I'm not...
Tankathon?
Tankathon, Lord. That's right.
We're going to run Armani off.
I'm fine with the tank. You know what? I'm completely fine with the tank. We see that Lauri... At this point, we see that Lauri is prepared to be a strong number 2, maybe a possible number 1. So we already have... We have 2 cornerstones, so I'm fine.
Yeah.
If we want a tank, I'll take it. Fuck it.
I'm more excited about the tank because of Lauri. Because if we tank this year, we can recover very quickly because of Lauri. Like, it's not a tank for 4 or 5 years. It's 1 bad year, maybe 2, and we're right back in it. Like, Lauri makes everything, this turnaround, so much better.
Yeah, I totally agree. Sorry, go ahead.
I just said I was trying out this new soundboard. I don't know. Clarkson's ejection, I don't know. I'm not entirely enthralled with him, so
well, it's kind of like if you square up twice, like the league's going to start looking at you, and eventually you're going to get suspended, in my opinion.
Right, and I know that like probably 80% of the fan base loves Jordan Clarkson.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. I guess you get some good with some bad with him, and that's just how it is.
Yeah.
And I guess lately I've been trying to see who's been our worst performers night in and night out, and on that losing streak that we just had before the Rockets win. And Conley's been struggling a lot since he's come back.
Yeah, he has.
And, I don't know if he's part of the bigger issue with us and can't stand guard in front on defense guarding those guys. I don't.
Yeah.
You know what I think it is, Dallin? You know what I think it is? I think he feels like he's going to get traded, and he doesn't want to push it because he knows if he gets injured again, he's screwed. Like, I feel like he's just not giving it 100%, either because he's not 100% healthy, or he's trying to protect his health in case a trade comes up.
You think he's ready? You think he's ready to to be traded?
I think a lot of our team is actually playing that way where they're not giving 100%. Maybe Lauri's the only one because, let's face it, they're probably all think, yeah.
He knows he's not going anywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, why do I want to get traded, or why do I want to get injured if I'm traded and then need to re-sign a contract?
Right.
Here's the thing: I'm pretty sure Conley knows he's only got a couple, 2-3 years left in his career.
He only got about 2-3.
Yeah.
And I don't know that he wants to be a part of a rebuild. Maybe he does.
I don't think he does, but
But that has nothing to do with his 3-ball. We can't excuse that because it's not like he's having a career year passing. He's decent defensively. He's not the greatest. He's not good. He's not bad. He's just decent.
He's not jumping.
Well, and to give Memphis a little credit tonight too, they are the best ranked defense in the league. So.
Well, but as of lately, from the beginning of the season to now, I didn't feel like Conley's 3-ball. He's had a couple games where his 3-ball looked good, but he's never. I don't know. It just is not there. It's not there. His 3-ball's not there.
Yeah. Right. So let's jump into the four lineup team. So this one's a little bit harder because there's not as many. There's only 2 lineups with 4 players that have played more than 15 minutes per game. So we're going to go down a little bit lower, but the worst one is at a -7 plus minus, and they have played the most minutes out of any 4 players together at 17 minutes per game, which is very interesting. I believe this is when Mike Conley was out. It is Talen Horton-Tucker, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, which you would not even think that those 2 play together that much. Right? They're usually it's either Nickeil Alexander-Walker or THT. And then, to my point, Jared Vanderbilt and Kelly Olynyk. And then the next worst one is -5, but these guys have only played 13 minutes per game together. Vanderbilt, again, shows up in there. Rudy Gay, Alexander Walker, and then Fontecchio. So...
yeah, but that was only one game. That was one game.
Yeah, so it's hard to take these guys that really haven't, like Fontecchio, haven't got very many minutes. The best one, and these guys have only played 12 minutes together, Rudy Gay, Talen Horton-Tucker, Balmero, and Walker Kessler. They're at a +6. So that's probably the most interesting out of the four-guy lineup just because Balmero's in there. But, again, how many games has Balmero played in? 2, 3,
yeah, I think
maybe.
2 or 3.
Yeah, but all those stats you're looking at, those are only like one game comps. Like you need to be looking at like the games where they played 26, 28, 33 games together.
Yeah,
and they played one game together.
I'm sure there's an advanced filter, but I didn't get that deep into it. So let's move on to the 5-man lineup because I'm sorting these by minutes per game, so I'm not even sorting them by plus minus.
Is the minutes per game player for player, or is that
these lineups are averaging together per game?
I think you should do
But if you look at the column right next to it, it tells you the number of games played together.
1, yeah, okay. So
try 8 minutes and then we might have something.
8 minutes.
Yeah, you want like 8 minutes with like 15 plus games.
I don't know how to do just the games played. I can.
Well, but if you.
I need to mess around with this more.
He's just saying, just look on the side, like as you go down.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So like that one right there, where they played 12 games.
Yeah.
And they're a +3. They're a 3.5. That's a good sample size right there. You got Olynyk. I'm obviously
looking at YouTube.
Behind, but you got Olynyk, Clarkson, Markkanen, Sexton, and Vanderbilt at a 3.5. That's a good sample size right there.
Yeah, and then you've got the other one right above it. They've played 12 minutes per game. 24 games played is our starting lineup. Conley, Olynyk, Clarkson, Markkanen, and Vanderbilt. They're at a -0.5. The one that stood out to me, and this is only one game played, a -7, is Olynyk Beasley, Vanderbilt, Walker, Alexander Walker, and Taylor Horton-Tucker.
Yeah, that sounds like a funky lineup.
Yeah, so let's go games played and see. So if you've done, oh man, see, this is what makes me feel like, I don't know that we're tanking necessarily, but we've had injuries, and just none of these 5-player lineups are averaging more than 12 points or 12 minutes per game.
So, coaches switched up the lineups a lot this year.
But is that kind of like a strategy of tanking, like making it look like?
No, it's not a strategy of tanking, because I'll say most lineups per game get 5 to 8 minutes per game together. Maybe not even like most. There's not a lot of strong 5-man lineups that play an entire, I don't know, like 15 minutes a game. It's not going to come unless it's maybe the starting lineup.
It'd be interesting. I think I can look at the entire league that way.
He switched it up a lot, but then he hasn't. Like, his starting 5 has pretty much been the same all year long, except for when there's been injuries.
It's just the way he uses his rotations. It makes it difficult to assess it.
Like what I would be interesting is if you can find the lineup, like our original starting 5. So like Olynyk, Markkanen, Olynyk, Markkanen, Vanderbilt.
I mean, I could do per 100
Clarkson,
possession.
And Conley.
Let's see what that is.
Oh, that'd be perfect.
Versus the same lineup with Sexton in it. So, like, what is our OG starting lineup versus Sexton in it? And
the one with Sexton is much better. I don't know. If I can remember correctly, I think it's like 3.5, 3.7 on a plus minus.
So I think this will be a little bit easier. We're gonna go per 100 possession during the regular season. Our top lineup, and these guys, well, see, the games played. I'm gonna go games played instead. And this will give us a better. So if you're going 10 or more games, well, we'll go 9 to cut it off. 9 or more games played per 100 possession. Our best lineup is Conley, Olynyk, Clarkson, Markkanen, and Sexton. Sexton running the point. Our worst one is Conley, Olynyk, Clarkson, Beasley, Vanderbilt at negative 27. So that's, you go from positive 36, and they played 11 games together, to negative 27. They had 9 games together. That's crazy. And again, to my point, you've got Olynyk and Vanderbilt in that negative. The next closest negative would be Olynyk, Clarkson, Beasley, Sexton, Vanderbilt. The next best lineup that have played 9 games together, this is gonna piss off Jazz fans. Rudy Gay, Malik Beasley, Colin Sexton, Taylor Horton-Tucker, and Walker Kessler.
Yeah, that was the bench squad. That's when we was.
The best squad is plus 36 with Conley.
No, I'm saying no. That was the bench.
Oh yeah.
That's the beginning of the season. That's when we was playing so well because it just gelled correctly.
Yeah, you're right. So crazy that Rudy Gay's in one of those. I know. That's what I'm saying is here's another one, plus 21. They've played 8 games, so it kind of falls out of what we're doing. But Olynyk, Clarkson, Markkanen, Sexton, Kessler. But in all of those but one, Kessler is in those. The best one he's not in, which Sexton was in instead of Vanderbilt. And he's running with Mike Conley and Jordan Clarkson.
It's tough because with Kessler, you're going to improve your plus minus because the other team's not going to score as many points because he's going to help you defensively.
I feel like also rebounding though, he helps because he draws attention to him and it makes it easier for us to rebound even if he's not getting the rebound.
Well, we have a as of like last week, we had a Kessler on the court is a plus 5 on the net rating. So it's like, he's so impactful.
Yeah.
It's like, why not play him?
Just start him, and like if he gets in foul trouble, then all right, then he'll learn from it. But just the Olynyk Vanderbilt just drives me insane, to be honest.
It's a bad.
I ain't worried about his foul trouble. I'm worried about his head case problems.
Kessler?
Yeah, man.
No, he won't square up and get ejected like Clarkson did.
But he gets in his own head sometimes early in the game, and he just kind of mopes around.
Yeah, I think Vanderbilt mopes. I think Vanderbilt's body language is the worst on the team.
Yeah, he makes a lot of gestures.
I like it better when he's rolling around on the ground versus that.
Well, so our next game, I'm gonna end this one pretty soon here. Our next game is against the one and only Donovan Mitchell coming to town. Man, it just feels like, and I think these guys were a little tired on a back-to-back and with it being an early game and whatnot, but are they saving some of that energy for this game, or do you think it's just going to be a slaughter?
I don't think it's going to be a slaughter. I think it's going to be a very tough game for the Cavaliers. They're not running as hot as they was. Donovan is going. He's more than likely going to play great. Maybe only being effective if Walker is on the court.
Yeah,
he's going to walk up like.
I am worried the league is going to slap Jordan with a 1-game suspension for tonight because it's the second time.
That would
second
suck.
ejection for something like this. They've done it to other players already.
It could happen,
this year.
yeah.
I hope they don't, and if they do, I hope they sure as hell appeal it so we can at least play it versus Cleveland. But I don't think it'll be a blowout. I think it'll be a close game, but I definitely do think Cleveland will win I think they'll win by 8 to 9.
Well, I can't say they're going to win handedly like that because I don't think anybody on that team could guard Lauri.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
And then their backcourt is not great defensively, so if JC is playing, JC might tear them up as well. So it's like, as much as I really don't, as much as JC get on my nerves, I have to give him his flowers. He can run off like 25 on it, 25, 30.
The funny thing about it is, I think they have the one player in the NBA who could guard Lauri, but he's having a horrible season. I think Evan Mobley could guard Lauri.
No way.
He's just having a horrible season. He's got the length, the athleticism. He just is having a horrible season.
Well, one thing I wanted to hit on too before we get off, because Ochai had such good games the past 2 games, and for him to go off for 19 points was really unexpected for me, but it felt like he could be behind Lauri, obviously not this year, but I think he could develop into a DeMar DeRozan type player, but he's also, I think, got a lot of potential defensively. Is there a chance that we might already have a 1-2 punch in Lauri and Ochai?
I don't think Ochai. You mean scoring wise? I think Ochai is a Desmond Bane type of player. Please don't take that as me saying that he's going to be that type of shooter. But I just mean the play style where it's just like he just plays clean basketball. He really doesn't have to do too much on the court. I think he's good. I just don't think he's a 1-2 punch because for us to have a 1-2 punch, Lauri is already a off-ball scorer, right?
I got to see some more consistency on it before I can even anoint him as a starter in the NBA. I think 2 games.
Yeah, I don't think it's a starter yet.
2 games is not enough to anoint him there. Like you got to be a little bit more consistent because today he came out and laid an egg. A really good tank.
But he only had He only had 2 shots against a great perimeter defensive team. So
well, I mean, I'm thinking about the rebuild. If we make all these trades, right, get rid of certain players, you've got Lauri, Ochai, and Kessler to build off of. And then if you go off in the offseason and get one more player, 2-3 years, let these guys develop. I think Ochai is we haven't seen a speck of his potential because he moves.
I think he's going to be one of those very, very polished,
yes,
solid starters, or maybe he can get up to a sub Chris Middleton level.
Well, he's 6'5". He's good length. He can dunk the ball. He can finish around the rim. He moves well without the ball. He can shoot from beyond the 3-point line, and he can defend. I just think, he ran that one play coach for him where he got the dunk, and then that kind of led him into these 2 games that he had good games. I think if you start running plays for him where he's coming off of screens and getting easy buckets, that's going to lead to him having more confidence in his shot. And then, I think he has the potential to be a great defender where he can get steals and score. So to me, it's like, okay, Lauri and Ochai could possibly, I'm not saying they are, I'm saying, could possibly be your 2 guys that are scorers. And then you've got Kessler, a really good rebounder and shot blocker. There's 3 pieces to our future that we already potentially have. Because Ochai, let's face it, he was 14th pick in this year's draft.
My thing with Ochai, and I'm just, I don't know, I'm trying not to be negative, but in the last 8 years, the last 8 drafts, there hasn't been a single player who went to college for 4 years that starts in the NBA right now. The last player to come out of the draft who still starts is Damian Lillard. And
I'll take a Damian Lillard.
I think Damian Lillard, and then homeboy that everybody hates up in Golden State.
Yeah.
So those are the only 2 players right now who are currently starters in the NBA who went to 4 years in college. Out of, I think I looked like something like 60 plus 4-year college people who have been drafted in the last like 8 to 10 years. So I'm not saying it's impossible, but statistically speaking, he's got an uphill battle. So
I feel like
he's got some. There's a reason that guys like that don't do well in the NBA. There's a reason they have to go to school for 4 years before they declare for the draft.
I feel like with the current roster that we have, he would probably be the one with the highest potential to become a really good player. The other one, if Colin Sexton can get back to his form, that would be the other one. But like, to me, he's just got an NBA body, and he doesn't play a lot of hero ball, but he moves without the ball and understands where to be defensively.
I think he's an NBA player. He's definitely an NBA player. I think like I said, I think his ceiling could be a Desmond Bane type of player. Desmond Bane doesn't do anything too special. He just does everything correct. I think Ochai can do that. He has a strong NBA body. He can definitely play NBA defense. He's strong.
I think outside of Kessler, he probably has the highest ceiling of our young guys.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, and he's got such a pure shot. If you go back to college and watch, like, even when he was shooting last night, his shot almost is more pure than Beasley, and Beasley has a really pure shot. Like, it reminds me of, I always say Klay Thompson, but I say that in the sense that his arc is so high that it gives the ball more of a chance to go in. And I just think, if he's shooting further out, he hit a lot of long range shots in college, and I think once his confidence gets rolling, he'll be able to do that. But maybe
because we need to see that. We need to see that because for the games that he has played in some of the G League games I've watched him play, him beyond the arc of the actual 3-point line is The corner, great.
But the great thing about him is he's got the body where he can go in and finish at the rim if he needs to.
Right. So I think he could be a very solid to very good off-ball player, and then his defense, I think he has NBA defense. So I think that's a player that we can most definitely keep on the roster, and we can see him in the foreseeable future. Like whether he becomes a starter or a strong rotational player, I won't be opposed to him being on the roster.
Yeah. Well, I just go ahead.
I was like, he's definitely got a lot more potential than a lot of the other guys that we're currently carrying on the roster.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's got the body for it. He seems to kind of have the mind for it. So, I mean, definitely a lot of potential. So, I mean, I'm excited about him. I think he was a throw-in that trade that no one really cared about.
Yeah.
And I think he could potentially be something. So,
well, I just wanted to hit on that real quick just because he had such the past 2 games, he had great games, and wanted to kind of talk about it. You never know if that's going to happen again, or if he becomes, like we were talking about, one of our key players. So I think if he turns out to be that, you look back at the Donovan Mitchell trade and say, wow, that's crazy that we got 2 really good players out of that trade. One we already know is going to be an all-star this year. So if you guys haven't checked out YouTube, go over, subscribe. My Jordan Clarkson video blew up from yesterday. It has probably 5,000 views now. Go check it out. And we will see you guys on Tuesday after the game. Donovan Mitchell's coming back to Salt Lake City. I'm extremely excited just to see how he compete, but also how the fans react. I hope that everybody cheers for him. They were playing a few highlights today before the game. I mean, he won a dunk contest for Utah, had tons of great playoff moments, had great scoring records set in the playoff in the bubble, and was just a player that brought a lot of good memories to Utah. So we'll see him on Tuesday, and I appreciate everyone that's listening throughout the world on YouTube. It's starting to take over, and we have a lot of Filipino listeners on YouTube. I know we've got a lot of Finland listeners on the podcast. So we thank you guys for listening all over the world, and we will catch you guys next time. Go Jazz. You were waiting that whole time.
It's all good.